Folks, welcome into That Betting Show, March 20th, 2019, your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs here right through to March Madness. He's Teddy Sabransky. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. I'm Donnie Seymour at Rightside VP. We danced last night. Was it good for you? Was it not? Hey, Big Nick plays at center for Belmont. They pick up the W. Let's get right into it last night. Two teams, Teddy, cashing tickets for the first time in the NCAA tournament. Belmont picks up a win. Fairleigh Dickinson picks up a win. Two different type of games here. I thought for one, Teddy, that Belmont carried. They were a little bit in the first half where Temple took the lead, but Belmont the stronger team all the way through. Then we also saw FDU down 13 in the second half. What a great comeback to cash that ticket.
It sure was. Of course, it's much easier to come back against Prairie View than it will be to come back against Gonzaga in the second round. They're 27-point dogs to the Zags. Fairly ridiculous is. And that, of course, they have to travel to Salt Lake City as well. Although Belmont doesn't get an easy task either. They've been taking money all morning, +4 at the opener, down to +3 against Maryland. But that's an early start game. It's only in Jacksonville, so the travel isn't as bad. But the fact that you play Tuesday night and then early on Thursday with travel in between makes it a little bit more difficult for the Bruins, who certainly looked good last night. You talked about Mazinski as being a difference maker for that team. He certainly was. 27 minutes, 8 of 12 from the field. And, we saw the money come on Temple. It looked like the markets didn't think Mazinski was going to play or going to be effective. He was hobbled, but he was good. And Fran Dunphy's last game for the Temple Owls goes down as a loss and a non-cover.
Yeah, Teddy, what was interesting about that game? Because I always thought he was going to be the key, and the OVC probably has to be doing a standing ovation because if Mazinski plays versus Murray State, they probably don't get two teams in the tournament. Now they get Belmont in. The kid comes back healthy, but also watching the early part of the game, it was one of those where if you bet Belmont, you held your breath a little bit because you saw him hobbling. You saw the announcers right off the bat, Teddy, first minute and a half saying, look at the gate on Mazinski out there. Let's see how long he lasts. And it looks like he loosened up. But my question to you is we know how the ankle responded last night. He was able to get through the game 8 of 12. Going to step up a level in competition to the ACC, to the Big 12, it's Big 10. Let's get that correct here. But looking at the game, do you take any stock in now you're playing on Thursday, how that ankle responds, and are you going to watch that to see, because if he's able to play, it's clear Belmont is a pretty good basketball team and be able to give Maryland a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, from all indications, the market certainly expect him to play. The early money has come on Belmont, but do I think it has the potential to affect the Bruins? You better believe I think it does. This is not a tiny little injury. And the fact that it's short rest, short turnaround, with travel in between, with an early start game off a late game, it makes it more difficult for Mazinski to be at or near 100%. And I don't know if he's going to be quite as effective against the Terps' physical front court.
No, we'll have a lot of fun watching those games. And tomorrow as we do That Betting Show, Teddy, we'll be live with coverage during the games. Or obviously it's a tape show, be edited, but we'll have a lot of fun with that going back and forth. Comebacks yesterday, Teddy. Talk a little bit about FDU. The interesting part of that game is Prairie View A&M came into the game one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the country, about 31%. So, you like the cap, you like to look at numbers. They can't shoot the three. They're in a new environment on the neutral court. They go 8 of 12 in the first half, but FDU with a nice close to that game. But that wasn't the only close that was surprising. That was a 13-point comeback. There was one in the NBA, Teddy, that was outrageous last night.
Yeah, and look, I'm not going to apologize for it. I had a big play on the Nets last night, plus nice. The points, and they were dead. They were turn off the game dead. They're down 25 in the fourth quarter. There have been 4 teams since the shot clock era to come back from 25 points down and win the game in regulation in the fourth quarter. The Nets became one of them last night as Sacramento, with the choke job of all choke jobs. And if you bet the Nets in game, boy, you cashed a nice little money line ticket on that one. 4 times since 1954-55 when the shot clock began. Doesn't happen very often. Brutal if you had Sacto. I apologize you're on the other side of that game, but I ain't giving the money back. I like.
Nope, no apology.
When I'm wrong,
yep, all spends
I cash the ticket anyway.
Absolutely, all spends the same there. Taking a look, early morning Major League Baseball action, Teddy. If we were sleeping, like the majority of the country probably was, you had legitimate Major League Baseball count in the standings type games last night. And how about this? Ichiro plays. You're over in Tokyo. We get a score fest, Teddy. Mariners with the upset short dog 9-7 winner, closed as high as 140 at most outlets out there with a total of 9, easily going over both of those. Grand slam in this baseball game. We joked yesterday, Teddy, on the off the record and off the mic segment that we have here, saying, you know what? Nobody really saw it. Boy, that would have been a nice game to settle into maybe mid-afternoon, Teddy. Not too many people saw it. Maybe some people waking up buried in the NCAA. But hey, baseball's here, Teddy, right? Rejoice.
Sure, maybe you were joking. I wasn't joking. Baseball does everything wrong. This including, look, it was an entertaining game. You know, I didn't see any of it. All I got to look at was the box score, but that's your opening day. All that being said, Mariners, 9 runs on 7 hits. That's taking advantage of their opportunities. They're able to bunch those hits together. And, of course, when Fears gives up a grand slam, when anytime your pitcher gives up a grand slam in a baseball game, you're going to be very lucky to cash that ticket. That wasn't the case, obviously. With a whole bunch of Oakland money coming in. That was minus 120 at the opener, minus 150 or higher at the close. The books made out like bandits on the opening day, opening night, opening 2:30 a.m., whatever you want to call it, the first real game of the MLB season.
I'll tell you about a real game that you're going to want to get involved with, Teddy, here at sportsbookreview.com. The March Madness prizes and poker tournament sponsored by Bovada. $5,000 U.S. total prizes. The grand prize, Teddy, worth $4,000. Monday night free roll. 2 tickets to the Final Four. 2 round-trip flights. 4 nights in a hotel. Spending money and taxis. Just get in the tournament. It's free. We can send you to the Final Four. Sounds like a good deal, Teddy.
Sure, and again, you talked about the free. It's a good package, man. You get tickets to the Final Four, not just a night or two. You get 4 nights hotel. You get plane flights, spending money. It is worth checking out sportsbookreview.com. It's not just content, it's contests. And this, a free roll and a good one.
You never know. We might even throw Teddy in there as well as a VIP package with you to include you as well up in Minneapolis and have a great time out there. But first, look, Major League Baseball season. Next week, Teddy, I consider the real opening day. We're going to continue that countdown here at sportsbookreview.com and that betting show. MLB First Look today, those Cincinnati Reds, 67-95, not so good last year. But how about the Reds making moves in the offseason, sitting at 66-1 to win the World Series, but also a team total set at 79. So let's do the math here. 67 last year, 79. We're looking for some improvement here. Puig and Kemp come over from the Dodgers. Winker and Senzel in in the outfield to replace Billy Hamilton. Puig gets the start in right field. You got a decent hitting infield. You have a pitching staff that has Luis Castillo to front it, 3.69 xFIP last year. Sonny Gray looking to recreate what he had in Oakland, not what he had with the New York Yankees. I like this team. I think there might be some money to be made and certainly some runs to be scored here, Teddy.
Donnie, you and I are in perfect agreement. I'll tell you what.
Yes.
Being here in Las Vegas for the last, during this preliminary baseball period. You know me, I'm around town. I'm talking to this guy. The Reds have a fair bit of buzz. I would say when you talk about losing teams from last year that people, sharp minds, expect to turn around this year, Cincinnati at or near the top of the list. And certainly some of it comes with bringing in some of the big bats. Obviously, when you bring someone in like Puig to go along with Votto and Suarez and Scooter in the middle of that lineup, there's hope for Cincinnati to be scoring runs in bunches. You look at the young hurlers, obviously Castillo and DeSclafani, 2 guys that have shown a lot of promise. And then you bring in Sonny Gray's the big name, but let's not forget Tanner Roark and Alex Wood, perhaps at the back end of that rotation. Roark's just an innings eater, and I don't know if Wood or Gray is going to work in Cincinnati, but both guys have upside and potential. Yeah, this team looks like a 500 team, maybe better. That'll send them over their win total as long as the bullpen can get outs. And no argument conceptually with Cincinnati, like Philadelphia, as we talked about earlier, as being a team we're looking to bet over the total on a game-in, game-out basis. I think the Reds are going to score a bunch of runs. They might give up a bunch as well. And those teams are beautiful news for everyone that likes to bet overs in MLB. I'm one of those people.
I have sources in Las Vegas that say the reason being the Reds are looking for improvement and about a 10-game leap from last year is just the simple fact that Homer Bailey is no longer on the roster. Are you hearing the same thing on the street?
Homer Bailey was as bad as it gets last year. Someone picked him up, though. I think they're sticking him in the rotation.
Yes,
but
Dodgers
we also have a
there,
manager.
Yeah.
And since the manager changed, another manager changed, and since, David Bell, who is the son of a manager, and Buddy Bell, the grandson of a manager, and this is the Bell dynasty, Gus Bell with the Reds way back in the day. So there's a bloodline for the managerial situation in Cincy this year, which I mean, it really can't be worse than the decisions that were being made in recent years. I've not been impressed with Cincinnati's Brian Price or his replacement in recent seasons.
Yeah, heat up out there, obviously, with the Great American Ballpark, a hitter's ballpark. They got a pretty good lineup 1 through 8 now, so it should be fun the rest of the summer. Keep an eye on that betting show on sportsbookreview.com. We'll continue our countdown to the real opening day in Major League Baseball. We got some overnight line movers. Check out SBRodds.com. These lines are always moving. Make sure you're in tune with that by checking out SBRodds.com and sportsbookreview.com. Bucks total dips in a little bit of early morning action here on Wednesday. Bucks Cavs plus 9.5 total down to 227. Chris opened it up at actually 230. I think we have some question marks, Teddy, on who's in and who's out, and also coming off a back-to-back night here.
Yeah, exactly. We have back-to-backs from Milwaukee. Giannis is a question mark for this evening for the Bucks. For the Cavs, a couple of big question marks. You know, we talk about Kevin Love, who's been good. He's actually been good for them, which I haven't said very often in recent seasons. But Love's a question mark tonight. And the guy who, Matthew Dellavedova, when he comes off the bench, he sparks the second unit, and the second unit scores points. When he doesn't play, the second unit doesn't score any points, and the Cavs tend to get blown out. So he's an impact injury. He's another questionable for tonight. All the early money on the under in the Bucks and the Cavs.
How about this one, Teddy? Wizards total on the move. When we always see, maybe 1 or 2 points, we sort of raise an eyebrow, but you're going to see almost a 5-point swing here. Opened up all short, 234.5 at some outlets. Now sits at 229.5. Wizards Bulls. We have any interesting, maybe injuries or somebody sitting out? Because that's a fairly significant line move in early Wednesday morning action.
It sure is. And I'm looking around and I don't see a whole lot that tells me why the markets did this. I think that has something to do with the expected intensity in this game. Look, this might be fun. These two teams made a blockbuster deal. Now we have Bradley Beal and Otto Porter as their respective stars on their teams and go-to guys in their teams battling against one another. Bobby Portis facing his old squad. Last time these two teams met, they hung 259. It's not like either of these two squads is playing elite-level defense on a nightly basis. So I'm a little bit surprised at this total getting bet down in early action on Wednesday.
Watch what you bet here on That Betting Show, Teddy. It's day 2 of the dance, obviously part 1, because we do have a doubleheader out there in Dayton. We'll send it back there. NC Central versus North Dakota State University, -5 total at 133.5 money line split, plus 180, -215. 640. Once again, good luck finding it on True TV. If you watched yesterday, you should know exactly where to go tonight. NC Central 11-9 against the spread in all line games. Only 4-6 against the spread, Teddy, this year as an underdog. North Dakota State comes in 15-16 against the spread in all line games, 11-8 against the spread as a favorite. Here we go, night 2.
Yeah, exactly. And again, these are two teams that I do not know well and have not watched. So I'm not going to try to make crazy predictions about this ball game. All that being said, North Carolina Central, this is the 3rd time in a row that they've been to Dayton for the first 4 games, and they've lost each of the last 2 years. So there is a little bit of an experience edge for NC Central center Rasan Davis. Last year was my first year coming, but honestly, I don't feel like anything is different this year. Our goal each year is to try to make history, and that's the same goal, so it feels the same. We're happy to be back for the 3rd time in a row. We just want this win and hopefully to try to advance and keep playing. The forward, Zachary Douglas. We prepare for this every year, all year. I think everyone's really, really hungry. You can see it on their faces. The way everyone prepares, the way we locked in for film, for practice, and everything like that. I think everybody is ready to turn the corner. That's meaningful for me. When you have a team that has experience and all the veterans on that team are saying, yeah, we're ready to go. This is our time. That tends to be the way I would look in a game where, what do the Bison do? They shoot well. 71st% nationally in 3-point percentage, 79th from inside the arc, great free throw shooting team. When they're clicking, they can score from anywhere on the floor, but I don't know if they play enough defense to win this game, and I like the team with experience. So the lean is towards NC Central.
Teddy, part 2 here in Dayton tonight, Arizona State and St. John's. Line currently sitting at 1.5, but we saw that as high as St. John's getting 2.5, so a little bit of a buyback coming back. Total at 153, money line split, -137, plus 117. That'll be the 9 o'clock game live from University of Dayton Arena in Dayton, Ohio. Arizona State 16-14 against the spread in all line games this year. 3-1 against the spread on the neutral court, and also 3-1 in the month of March. If we take a look at St. John's, Teddy, 13-18 against the spread in all line games. But the one that I take a look at, 0-4 against the spread in neutral court games coming into this. Remy Martin looks like he's going to be healthy. Bobby Hurley said he's ready to go. Practice full week. Should be full go. This is the game that we're waiting for, same as we waited last night for Temple and Belmont. Should be a good one out there in Dayton and a close line here.
Oh, yeah. It has the potential to be a really good one. And look, it's a St. John's team that did not play well down the stretch. They lost 4-5 coming into the big dance. And the only victory came against DePaul. And that was in a revenge spot because DePaul had beaten them the week before. You know, you talk about Pons and is an elite scorer. I'm not in love with the supporting cast, particularly when it comes to the low post for the Red Storm. St. John's have been getting outworked and out-rebounded on a nightly basis. And that's bad news, you know, against Dylan Cheatham and company. You know, he averaged a double-double for Arizona State. And the one thing the Sun Devils can do, you know, Bobby Hurley's squad, they played pretty good ball down the stretch, winning 6 of their last 8. But they can get hot. They're a team that can really get hot from downtown. You know, the Frost Phenom Dort. You know, you talk about Martin, Rob Edwards, another guy who can light it up from downtown. And 6 of their last 8 have been wins. The only 2 losses both came against Oregon. 1 in overtime. Obviously, the Ducks, a tournament team. I do think Arizona State deserves to be the chalk tonight. If I'm going to bet it, I could only bet the Sun Devils.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about that too? Shamari Pons, Mustafa Heron. You have 2 superstar-type players that can go off at any time. But when you talk about Dort, you just brought him up. He's an elite on-ball defender as well. So we'll see how that plays in tonight. Should be a good one, kicking it off, getting ready for the full storm coming on Thursday. But Teddy, the NBA, it's still there. We always have to remind you about it. And maybe the Sixers don't want to be reminded about it because the Celtics are coming to town tonight at the Wells Fargo Center for a national game, 7 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN. Sixers favored by 3 total, 224.5 money line split, plus 130, minus 150. Both of these teams, when you look at their against the spread numbers on the season, not so good. But the one thing we do know that's not so good is the Celtics continue to pound the Sixers. Sixers played last night, sat Joel Embiid in anticipation for this game against the Celtics tonight, picked up a win. Celtics rested and ready for this one and own the Sixers. Do the Sixers bite back finally tonight, Teddy, and take care of those Celtics?
I'll tell you what, you know, this is a game certainly that Philadelphia has circled in a real way. Whether that matters or not is another question. But, you know, I mean, Boston 17-2 their last 19 regular season meetings against the Philadelphia 76ers. So far this season, 105-87 in the season opener. They beat him on Christmas Day on national TV, and they won in Philly last month despite playing without Kyrie Irving. And by the way, they also beat him in 5 games in the Eastern Conference semifinals last spring. So if you don't think the Sixers have this game triple, quadruple, quintuple circled, you're wrong. Look at the quote from Embiid. I'm fine not playing back-to-backs. It was my decision to choose which game I'm going to play. We've got work to do against Boston. JJ Redick. It's always a big game we play the Celtics. I think psychologically, too, we need to figure out how to beat these guys. Jordan Hayward, not expected to suit up for the Celtics tonight. Kyrie Irving, you know, his quote, our focus level has to be at an even higher level, especially out there when they're running specific plays over and over again. And we have schemes we want to do. We just have to do it at a very high level in order to win a championship. Look, I understand that Philly's on the second of back-to-backs. I understand that Boston's owned them. But when you have a team that's saying, we want to beat these guys, we're really ready to beat these guys, it's a regular season game, I tend to believe that team. If I'm playing, I'm laying.
Yep, Brett Brown definitely has to get the edge tonight on coach for the Boston Celtics, Brad Stevens. We'll see how it goes tonight. But off the mic segment, Teddy, had a good one yesterday, doing a little bit of rippage on Major League Baseball. Today, we're going to come back to the NFL because if you didn't see it overnight, Vontaze Burfict, the much maligned, much suspended, cheap shot artist, heading to the Raiders. Perfect for the circus out there. The one thing that the NFL does really well, Teddy, is they keep everything in the news 24/7, 365. They do it again. If the Raiders are not on Hard Knocks, somebody in the NFL marketing department is doing it all wrong. Antonio Brown doesn't like him. Burfict doesn't like him. But yet again on Twitter, hey, man, welcome to the squad. It's the Raiders. We wouldn't expect anything less, right, Teddy?
And these are the kind of guys you sort of want the Raiders to have. Vontaze Burfict is an elite linebacker. He is an impact player on the defensive side of the football. And he's dirty as hell. And he's always been dirty. And the refs always try to flag him. And he was dirty when he played in college at Arizona State. I mean, that's just been his career. And that's fine. Oakland needs some attitude guys. I got no problem with Burfict signing in Oakland. I think he has the potential to be a good signing for Gruden. But on the other hand, what are the Raiders doing exactly? You know, you're bringing in some veterans. You're bringing in some young guys. Is it a rebuild? Is it a reload? They weren't good last year. They weren't good the year before. You're signing veterans. High-priced veterans. The issue in Oakland, maybe Mayock. I'm telling you. Mayock, an okay talent evaluator, an okay TV personality. Let's see how he does running this franchise. And as for Hard Knocks, I'm with you in theory, although I don't think any team wants Hard Knocks. It's a huge distraction. And if I'm trying to build a winning team, especially off a crappy year like the Raiders had last year, the last thing I want with this bunch is more cameras around.
Al Davis would have been proud of this Raiders team. Al Davis would have been proud of that betting show with Donnie and Teddy for March 20th, 2019. Your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. March Madness tomorrow officially kicks off. Full day slate. We got you covered here at sportsbookview.com. He's Teddy Savransky. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. I'm Donnie Seymour, Right Side VP. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back tomorrow for much, much more on March Madness. Take care.